Hi, everyone, and welcome to the show. From Peterson's, I'm your host, Taylor Sienkiewicz, and you're listening to You Have a Cool Job, a podcast highlighting those who took their profession in a unique direction and what they did to get there. On this week's episode of You Have a Cool Job, meet trivia host David Gottlieb. David works for Last Call Trivia as a host as well as a creative specialist, meaning he also gets to create the trivia questions. To start things off, I asked David what it means to have a career in the trivia world.
There are actually two parts of what I do for a career that started with just the hosting aspect of things, the 2 or 3 nights a week going to a bar or restaurant and hosting a 2-hour trivia show. That's where it started off. And then I started doing it about a year after I got out of college, and I was, working at the job that I had while in college, and I kept bugging my company, Last Call Trivia. I said, "You guys have anything else? Do you have anything else? Do you have anything else?" Every, few weeks or few months, I would, be asking about stuff. So what started out as hosting trivia 2 or 3 nights a week turned into now I'm writing trivia. Some of the questions that I write go into the trivia shows each week, doing a lot of social media stuff. We have a weekly Trivia Bites is what we call it on Facebook Live, where we get on and film us asking questions to people who are watching and to somebody who's here in the office, and just a whole slew of other things that go into, setting bars up with trivia and marketing and advertising and just the whole world of a business. So it kind of started out as a small, hosting trivia, and then has grown to being part of the company that runs the trivia every night of the week. So
yeah. Great. So tell me about then your sense of humor when it comes to this. I know both in writing the trivia and also in hosting it.
So one of my secret goals is to be a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
So, but I'm also a dad, so my humor is I would say not the best. So. Yeah, definitely in the writing, it's always fun to put, little tidbits that are kind of jokes, but also many times when you add something that adds, a little bit of humor to the question, it actually helps teams to get to the answer. So it'd be like a little clue or, a detour from the bulk of the question, but it turns into, kind of a small joke. But there's a fine line between being a trivia host and then, thinking you're a stand-up comedian. So it's always important to, know that you're there for, know the reason you're there, as opposed to, having the mic and trying to do comedy as opposed to trivia.
Yeah, just talking for too long into the microphone and stuff like that. Okay, cool. So you're mostly dad jokes is what I saw in your bio.
That's definitely the extent of it. And you having that insight yourself is really good. And if you don't have the knowledge of, hey, maybe I'm speaking too long about this or carrying on too long, the teams will often let you know, hey, we want trivia, we don't want your comedy act. So it's important to know how to gauge when to stop,
right,
and get back on track. Yeah. So.
And I mean, if you're doing these at bars and restaurants, those are kind of later nights. So I assume you have a little bit different of a schedule than the average person. Yeah.
And working for the company full time during the day definitely helps with that, because, if we've got a trivia show that goes from 9 to 11, it's, it's easy to come in a little bit later the next day, but that wasn't always the case. When I was working at the job where I worked while I was in college and just after college, sometimes I'd be at a bar until 11:15, and then have to go into work at 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's one of the struggles that some of the hosts who do it as only a side hustle kind of run into, but it's fun. And a lot of the venues do like 6:30 to 8:30 shows, and you're usually home by 10:30 or 11 at the latest.
We'll get back to David's story right after this. Are you searching for the right college, grad school, or trade school to fit your needs? Or are you studying for those entrance exams you need a good score on? Peterson's has you covered. With advanced college and scholarship search functions, test prep for everything from the SAT to the MCAT to the firefighter exams, and tons of free resources on our blog, Peterson's helps you find, get in, and pay for school, plus much more. Visit petersons.com today. And now, back to the show. David's workday starts somewhat similarly to many other professionals. He gets into the office, albeit a bit later on some days, and spends the day coming up with trivia questions, fact-checking questions and answers, and reviewing show content before a host brings it to a venue. However, his after-work day is a bit different. After spending time with his family, he prepares and heads out for a 2-hour trivia show. To understand the process a bit better, I asked David how he comes up with his trivia questions.
After doing this for, a while, it's been everything from, hearing a question on Jeopardy, which, we would never ask the same exact question, but, hearing a topic on a Jeopardy question and then going and researching it online and, kind of spinning it and creating something new out of one of those questions, or all the way to, I've read the back of, shampoo bottles that they have some weird fact on them and written a question from that. So everything from existing trivia that's already out there to, product labels. It's really all the way across the board, which is a lot of fun. It makes daily life different. It's kind of, you have a different, you view it through a different lens,
right? Because
there's always some nugget of information out there that can be, spun into a trivia question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like this was kind of your side hustle in college, and then you decided to make it your full-time career. Did you have a different plan, or was this what you wanted to do?
It kind of was what I wanted to do. So when I was in college, I have a degree in communication, which is kind of, it leaves it kind of open after you get finished. Mm-hmm. But I had a internet radio show that I did when I was in college, and when I was a kid, like one of my fondest memories from childhood is watching Jeopardy with my dad, and he actually wrote trivia he works at the University of Cincinnati, and he actually wrote trivia for the newspaper years and years back. But so I always wanted to kind of do something in entertaining people, and I wasn't really sure exactly what that was, but it kind of fit perfectly to what I thought I might want to do. So I got lucky for sure.
Definitely. So how do you prepare for your shows? Is there anything you do before you head to these shows that, I don't know, just reading over questions, or is there anything that helps you put on a better show, I guess?
Yeah. So one of the most fun things about it is matching music to the questions we ask. So we never want to, there's some companies out there that give hints in their song choices where, you know, if you know the band or you know the title of the song or you know some of the lyrics, it will basically give you the answer to the question. That's we kind of try to shy away from because it takes some of the fun out of it. But when you have a question, like, this is the example I always use, but if you have a question that has the word gold in it and then play, you know, Gold on the Ceiling, it makes it a lot more fun. And, you know, it seems like something so simple, but it really, the teams enjoy it a lot. So that's one of the things setting up is like, oh, hey, I get to make this playlist and I get to think of ways to tie these questions to this music. So it creates this story throughout the night that goes beyond just asking trivia questions to people. So that's one of the most fun things in setting up. And then making sure I know how to pronounce the words and the questions, because, you know, you'd be surprised at how many words there are that, you know, you see all the time, and then it's like, oh, I wasn't saying that right my whole life. So definitely making sure you know the pronunciation of things, and then really that's mostly what goes into a setting up. You know, I've been doing this for 8 years, so it's kind of like a process that's kind of become habit over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, just and above and beyond the tying the music to the questions is making sure you're playing music that your venue likes, because, you know, we're in 250 bars across the country, and, you know, one bar might really like country music, but then, you know, a bar down the street that does trivia, you know, 2 nights later, they might despise country music. So definitely getting a grasp on who the crowd is good to do before hosting, for sure.
Right, just knowing your audience. So I imagine since you're going to so many different bars, that there's been some really interesting settings or shows that you've hosted. Do you have any stories about that?
Trying to think. I knew you were going to ask me some kind of question like this. It's not necessarily along the lines of the questions, but this kind of is more of an overall thing. But really, the family that gets created after going to host trivia shows so often, and you know, every week, and teams are coming back and all that. I've DJ'd a wedding of a trivia team that I had, and I didn't even know who these people were before they started playing trivia. And now we're, you know, really good friends, and I DJ'd their wedding. And when my daughter was born 2 years ago, the trivia teams threw me a surprise baby shower, which was really cool. But as far as, I mean, sometimes there's people who've had a little too much to drink, and
right.
Like when we start, you know, because you're not supposed to yell out the answers, because that makes the game, you know, it makes it pointless. And one time we started, and I asked the question, and, you know, I went over the rules before and said, hey, you know, don't shout out the answers, no cheating, all that stuff. And there was a patron at the bar that yelled out the answer to the first question, and then, you know, I walked over and I talked to the patron, and then I asked the second question, and the patron yelled out the question again, or the answer again, and then did it for the third question as well. And I'm like, so I had to deal with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of the venue actually got involved, like, hey, can you stop doing this? And, but yeah, and then funny answers are always fun, you know, when people don't know the answer. I can't think of any specifically right now, but some answers that I've received over the years are really funny. And then sometimes people draw their answers on the answer sheet instead of writing them, or in addition to writing them. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think of, too, when I've been to trivia nights, people come up with really funny team names, and I always like that.
Oh, yeah, that too. That's one of the biggest ones. It's like, how did you think of this? You know?
Yeah. They can be very clever. So that's...
I know, yeah, especially with current events and stuff. It's like, oh. And then sometimes it's like, I can't read that into a microphone. So,
right.
I'll shorten it for you, or I'll say the initials of it, but I'm not going to say that. Some people, I don't know,
right,
go a little too far, but whatever.
Right. Well, Dave, what is next for you then? So you said you potentially want to be a stand-up comedian, but is there anywhere else you want to go with your trivia career, or are you kind of working towards that?
No, I'm definitely on the trivia career. The stand-up comedian thing is more of a, I don't know, just
a running joke.
Something that's like always, yeah, it's a running joke. But yeah, the trivia thing. So we're in 250 venues right now each week, and the team that I'm with is awesome. I was mentioning family with the trivia teams. That my work team, they're like a family, and just growing and coming up with better ways to make the game more fun, and having we'd love to be in every bar in the country, really. So it's really that just working and working toward making the game as fun for everybody and accessible to everyone. So that's really where we're headed.
Yeah. And do you feel like you can still keep that community element even if you continue to expand?
Yeah, so that's something that's a conversation that comes up quite often. Is we have leagues right now where people are playing against each other, and we've got ideas of kind of inserting different implements of or aspects of the game, where in addition to it being a trivia show, either you're playing against teams that are at a bar in your area or in your city, or, keeping, spreading out across the country, but also, making sure that the teams feel that community of, the other teams that are playing at their bar and in their area. It's a conversation. It's definitely something that needs to be, figured out and worked on and perfected to make sure that community isn't lost.
Before we ended our conversation, David reflected on his career as it has evolved from a side hustle to a job he truly enjoys.
One of the things when I was, getting ready to do this, I was thinking about how far I've come and what has changed over the years. And I think it's a really cool testament to trivia nights, is that, I started as a 24-year-old right out of college, and, I was definitely not a stranger to going to bars, on weekends and stuff. Mm-hmm. And just the journey that I've taken. Now I'm married and have a 2-year-old, and it's still, there's, some aspects of it have changed where it's like, oh, hey, I'm at a bar, I'm, in party mode. So now it's like, oh, hey, I'm at a bar, I'm with friends and different people who are, here at the end of their workday. I just really enjoy the fact that while I'm growing and changing and, becoming, an adult, more of an adult, I guess, there's still an aspect to it, or this lining to it that stays the same, where I think, which is a testament to trivia being, something that anybody can do. My 12-year-old nephew loves it, and my, 7-year-old dad loves it. So, that's just something that's really cool that I haven't really thought of too often, but something that I think we could focus on and creating better trivia experiences for everybody.
David is able to be an entertainer while staying involved in the community through his work, which isn't something a lot of entertainers can say. We hope you're inspired by David's story to find your middle ground too. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.